Morocco has become the latest Arab country to normalize ties with Israel. It is the fourth Arab country to do so in the last 5 months. The timing of Rabat's decision is crucial. It came as the United States recognized Moroccan sovereignty over the Sahara region. To talk about what the developments mean for Morocco and the Arab world, I'm being joined by a very special guest. Joining me live tonight on Gravitas is Ambassador Mohamed Maliki. He's the Moroccan ambassador to India, and he's joining us live from New Delhi in what is perhaps his first such interview to an Indian network. Good evening, Ambassador Maliki, and welcome to Gravitas.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Mrs. Shah.
There's a lot that's making news with Morocco in the headlines. I want to start with the story that affects Morocco directly. The United States recognizing Morocco's claims of sovereignty over the disputed Saharan region. What does this decision mean for you and your country?
Well, let me start by thanking you and then saying that this is a historical decision coming from the highest authority of the United States after tough negotiations which lasted for more than 2 years and a half. It's also, in a way, joining the action to the words. The United States have believed always that there could be only a political solution to the Sahara issue, that the Moroccan proposal for the autonomy is the only proposal on the ground which is feasible, credible, which is also having the international community support. So the United States, by all this decision, is only confirming what they have been believing so for the last few years, in fact since 2007. So we're quite happy about this historical decision. It's a momentum that will help peace into the region.
You say there will be peace, and we hope there is, but there is also fear that this recognition will intensify the conflict between the Moroccan government and the Polisario Front rebels. What is the situation like at the front right now, where a 3-decade-long ceasefire was shattered in November?
I believe that the ceasefire was broken by the militia of the Polisario when they entered the buffer zone in the Gargarat and then preventing all the people from moving freely from Morocco to Mauritania to other African countries, and then also preventing the movement of the population. They cannot do it, and then His Majesty and then the government of Morocco informed the Secretary General of the United Nations and then all the members of the violations that have been made, and then that it's also had the right to defend its territorial integrity and then to defend this buffer zone and then to re-establish the communication between the Morocco and then the rest of the African countries. So the ceasefire was broken first by them. Second, we are always, and then we will be committed to the ceasefire, and then we have repeated it. In fact, the provocation didn't come from Morocco.
Was this recognition by Washington a precondition for Morocco establishing diplomatic ties with Israel?
I believe that big and well-established countries do not bargain on principles. And then for any Moroccan from the top, that is His Majesty, to the last layman, we have two national issues. The Sahara issue, Moroccan Sahara issue, is crucial. The Palestinian issue is very important, and then according even to the communique of the Royal Palace, it's equally important to Moroccans. So we are not jeopardizing, we are not bargaining. These are two important and different issues. They all go for peace, and it is quite important for the Moroccan population. And on the other side, let me tell you that it is not a normalization or recognition of Israel. In fact, it's only the reactivation of the mechanisms which already existed, a diplomatic mechanism, the cooperation that was already taking place.
But critics still say that with this agreement, Morocco may have alienated Palestine, or some elements in Palestine that could side with the Polisario rebels. Is that a concern that you share? And are you saying here on the show that Morocco remains committed to the Palestinian cause despite having established ties with Israel?
Not at all. We are not putting one on the expense of the other. And I think Morocco is a very responsible country. It has always proven to be a responsible country, historically, but also nowadays on this politics. So there is no change at all in the positions. And then we are quite conscious that also the Palestinians are aware of the importance of the Sahara, Moroccan Sahara for all the Moroccans. And then this fake news which had come lately about the youth supporting the Polisario is completely fake. And then there has been also official announcement that there was no communique or no statement as such. So I believe that they are quite aware of the importance. We are quite aware of the importance of the issue, and then the two things are not contradictory. We should be able to work together to find a solution in both regions for the peace and tranquility for all the people. And I think Morocco has always, in through history, and then it is also recognized, a positive role in bringing together the Palestinians and the Israelis. And I think the two-state solutions will be the ultimate solution for all these events.
Morocco, as we've been reporting here on WION, has become the fourth Arab country to begin normalizing relations with Israel. But as you mentioned, the two countries have maintained a relationship for more than half a century. So what will change with this formal declaration?
As I stated a little bit earlier, it's the reactivation of the diplomatic and then of the cooperation between Morocco and then Israel. What will happen on the ground, that's the direct flights will start very soon, and then the population, Moroccan population and living in Israel who have who are binationals can travel very easily. That's a very good step. It's a step also for peace. Then secondly, we should be able to activate some other cooperation like in IITs, like in agriculture, like in some areas where either Morocco or Israel have reached a certain very known and then recognized expertise. I would say the fertilizer from our side, I would say also energy, and then I think we should be able in the near future to discuss together what could be the form of this cooperation. So it's only a reactivation of what was already going on.
India too has friendly ties with Israel. How do you think Morocco's relationship with India will change, or where do you see things going after this agreement with Israel? Are there any potential areas of convergence for India, Israel and Morocco?
I think the relations between Morocco and India are quite important, and the relations between Israel and India are quite important. And then I believe that the relations between Morocco and Israel are important for to serve the peace. And I think India has a positive role to play in this, in good offices. And then I think due to its position and then to the Moroccan position, they can help quite a lot. They can bring innovative solutions to find a long-standing solution for this in the Middle East. The other side, there should be also, I think, some areas which could constitute. And I'm just thinking now that you're putting the question, I'm not really the decision taker. But I believe that there would be probably some areas where trilateral cooperation could import, because the Israel and Morocco and India are very known to be agricultural countries with large population and the occupation of this domain. And I believe that would be one of the areas. So I think it's only the beginning. There will be definitely some ways of reinforcing the cooperation by transitivity somehow, because when you have a friend who has a good friendship with the other person, it also helps into bringing others to the table, into facilitating. And I think the two countries, that is Morocco and India, could play a very good role in facilitating the peace process in the Middle East.
Very interesting. Recently, a series of agreements were also signed in your presence at the India-Morocco Business Forum. Morocco has aimed to establish itself as India's business gateway to Africa, to Europe and the Arab world. How do you plan to accomplish this vision?
I think this agreement, which was done by the Exim Bank of India and then BMC Bank of Africa in Morocco, is a timely decision because it crowns a 5-year strong bilateral cooperation between the two countries. We have concluded like 43 agreements since the last visit of His Majesty on the margin of the Third Africa-India Summit. And then there was a very important historical meeting with His Majesty and then His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi, where they decided to elevate the relations into strategic partnership. And since then, we have been working, both the Moroccan government and the Indian government, to put concrete content for this strategic partnership. And I think the business communities have also been requesting to find very easy access to funding and very access to get investments both here in Morocco. And I think by this agreement, we are rendering very big service to our business communities to go along.
Thanks very much, Ambassador Maliki, for joining us here on WION and for sharing your perspective with us.
I thank you so much for inviting me.